Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today in this video I would like to continue a previous video entitled China's Maritime Disputes from 1895 until 2020. (1972) Japan and China normalized relations. Japanese Prime Minister Kakuei Tanaka and Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai talks to reconciliations on September 28, 1972. China and Japan formally re-established diplomatic relations after gradually rebuilding economic ties. In China, the failure of Mao's Great Leap Forward 1958 until 1962, preceding the Cultural Revolution, resulted in mass starvations that forced Beijing to re-evaluate its domestic policies and look to Japan for aid. The Sino-Japanese reconciliation dovetails the rapprochement between the United States and China, a change in official political allegiance from Taipei to Beijing. There is a crucial factor in the establishment of diplomatic ties between Japan and China. Nixon, whose administration has made normalizing relations with the PRC a diplomatic priority, visit Beijing the same year, establishing de facto relations with the country after U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger visit in July 1971. Trade between Japan and China surged in the period after normalization, de-escalating the first round of Senkaku or Diaoyu Island disputes. January 1974, China claims Paracel Island. Chinese naval personnel patrol Woody Island in 2016, a year after the Paris Peace Accords, which end U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War. Chinese forces occupy the western portions of the Paracel Islands, planting flags on several islands and seizing a South Vietnamese garrison. Vietnamese troops flee south and establish the first permanent Vietnamese occupation of these partly islands. Meanwhile, Beijing builds a military installation, including an airfield and artificial harbor on Woody Island, the largest of the Paracels. After the fall of Saigon and the reunifications of Vietnam, the newly formed Socialist Republic of Vietnam uphold the South's former claims to the Spratleys and Paracels. To this day, China maintains around 1,000 troops in the Paracels. 1976. Philippines disforce oil field. Unemployed on Petron Corp, the Philippines' largest oil refiners, prepares empty fuel drums. After an extensive exploration program, the Philippines find the Nido oil field on the coast of Palawan Islands, marking the first oil discovery in the northwest Palawan Basin. The discovery comes 4 years after the government passes the Oil Exploration and Development Act of 1972, which provide the legal basis for the exploring and developing petroleum resources as Manila pushes for energy independence. Philippine City Service, the country's first oil company, begins drilling a well in the Nido oil field and launches commercial productions in the 1979 yielding 8.8 million barrels that year. In 2012, the IMF notes that the Philippines petroleum industry may have significant potential in the South China Sea, which is adjacent to the Northwest Palawan Basin. 1979 Sino-Vietnamese War. A Chinese crewman is captured during the 1979 Sino-Vietnamese War. China wages a short but bloody war with Vietnam, launching an offensive in response to Vietnam invasion and occupation of Cambodia in 1978, which ended the reign of the communists. China's Big Khmer Rouge. The conflict marks the apex of tensions between Beijing and Hanoi, which were already running high after Vietnam established ties with the Soviet Union, China's Cold War rival, the previous November. China had aided Vietnam in its war against both France and the United States. Although both sides claim victory, China withdraws from Vietnam after less than a month, having failed to coerce Vietnam to leave Cambodia. Roughly 30,000 are killed in the short-lived conflict, which marks the beginning of many border disputes between Beijing and Hanoi and bolster Vietnam's lingering distrust of China. 1982, UNCLOS is established. After 3 decades of negotiation, the third and final United Nations Conference on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, culminates in the resolution that defines the rights and responsibilities of nations in their use of surrounding water based on exclusive economic zone and continental shelves. The measure comes into force on November 14, 1994, a year after Guyana becomes the 6th nation to sign the treaty. UNCLOS does not address sovereignty issues related to the South and East China Sea, and its vague wording has prevented it from serving as a credible body of law in resolving territorial disputes. Although the United States recognizes UNCLOS as customary international law, it has yet to ratify the treaty, a move that would give Washington a greater platform from which it could advance its economic and strategic interests. 1988, China sinks 3 Vietnamese ships. People stand after roughly a decade of relative claim in the South China Sea. China and Vietnam clash on the Johnson Reef, marking China's first armed conflict over the Spratly archipelago. The Chinese Navy sinks 3 Vietnamese vessels, killing 74 sailors in one of the most serious military confrontations in the South China Sea. The incident occurs after Beijing, pursuing a more assertive stance in the area, establishes a physical presence on Vera Cruz Reef in the Spratleys in January 1987. In response, Vietnam occupied several reefs to monitor China's moves. The incident unfolded amid Deng Xiaoping's economic reforms of the 1980s, when China's economic activity began shifting to the coastal provinces and maritime resources become increasingly prized as hydrocarbons are needed to sustain growth. So the time is up, and the article will be continue on the next video. So bye bye, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Bye.